Good morning guys, and welcome back to the farm again for part 60. I think we're up to 67. I'm having trouble keeping track. I'm down the lane. It's a bit windy this morning. The sun's actually quite bright. It's still not quite 8 o'clock, and I've been up around the farmyard this morning loading the trailer with all the rest of the scrap metal, just the messy stuff, emptying some of the other sheds, just dragging things from, behind the sheds, up on the walls, all that sort of stuff. We've got to get rid of it. So I'm about to dump all this stuff down the lane here at the machinery graveyard. For those of you who haven't seen it, we haven't been down here for a long time, I'll do a bit of a quick walk along, and I'm going to try and rescue some wheels this morning. So I've got my grinder with me. We'll see if we can cut some off. I'm not taking them back to the shop this time, but I'll get them ready hopefully for when I'm home again in about another month. I still have to do probably a couple more trips, and by then it'll be getting into summer and I won't be able to use a grinder out here because there'll be a fire danger. So I've got to kind of do it this morning. So I just threw heaps of stuff on top of the trailer this morning. Didn't have to tie it down because I only had to go a couple hundred yards, and I'm just going to dump it off here. The last job for the farm cleanup pretty much is getting a scrappy in. He's going to come up with an excavator and break up all the machinery. I'm not sure how he's going to handle the bigger pieces, especially the old International harvester, but that's his job. He's a scrap metal dealer. So we'll have a little bit of a quick walk along here. A lot of old machinery. I've sold a lot out of here over the course of the cleanup, including a big windmill fan blade we got $200 for, I think. I'm probably walking the wrong side, you can see my shadow. But lots of stuff. I've tried to sell that big spiral thing there, but no one wanted it. It was a bit long. If I could cut it in half, I could take it back to the shop, but that all takes time. Same with some of the things on the old binders here. There are various bits and pieces that would certainly sell, given that my shop isn't far from Melbourne and city people love rusty metal and farm stuff. But it's a matter of practicalities. I don't have time. I did sell some old tractor parts from down here. A guy came across and rescued some old parts, which is great. I'd much prefer to see them go to collectors than the scrap metal furnace. Even that old gate is probably quite saleable, but it's just too hard for me to get back to the shop. Ross might even use that one. I'll have to check with him. But the binders, these old reaper binders, is what Dad and I used to use to cut straw. They were originally designed to cut oats into sheaves, and we used to cut the wheat stubble into sheaves, which a local factory then turned into a board, and there's some inside the house. I've shown it before. But I want to get these big drive wheels off because I can sell those, and I'll get at least $100 each for those. So if they come out okay, I'll try and salvage some of those. The rest of the machines will just go for scrap. There's quite a few of them here, and a lot of other general farm stuff. There's an old auger here, which I did get the winch off, and something else which I've already sold. Another old International header body, an old truck tray base, a really old plough that's had other wheels put on it that would have originally had steel wheels, which I've probably sold, over the years. So there's a lot of general stuff, some bed frames, washing machines. I didn't want to put too much of that light stuff down here because it doesn't weigh much. So I've been taking that to the transfer station for free, and it'll get recycled anyway. We just don't get anything for it. But this pile should add up to a fair bit of weight. And even though the guy's got to come up with the machinery and a large truck, and he's a local dealer, so I'm not going to get anywhere near like the prices I would get if I took it to Melbourne myself. But again, it's practicalities. We're 4 hours from Melbourne here. Another old plough, and that one had axle or hubs off it from an early Sift tractor, and I'm glad a collector came and saved them. So that's good. I just basically charged him scrap price. I think we got a couple $100 for the wheels. A few other parts that he recognised off his old tractor. Or not his tractor, but the same model. Another binder upside down there. Another International header. Another plough frame over there. They were very heavy. They're really good solid steel, so we should get a fair bit of weight. Another binder there that the wheel has. Oh, that's actually got a rubber tyre on it, so that wheel's staying there. You can't quite see it, it's underneath. But these chains, I might take the chains because they do sell. Easy just to whip through a couple of links and take the chain off. And the last thing in the aisle here is an old truck body. This used to be on a Chev truck we had. I did try and sell this just as, an enclosure or something. One guy was keen to come and get it, but the planets never quite aligned and he didn't make it here. I'm not interested in trying to sell it now. Notice a few trees down from the storm we had a while back. and there were lots down the front of the property which Ross has cleaned up. So anyway, that's the machinery graveyard. There has been lots go from here over the years. This is pretty much all that's left. So I'll unload the trailer and I'll see if I can salvage some of the wheels. You know, sometimes you've got to pick your battles. I've just tried to nut out how easy these are to get out, and it's going to take quite a long time. I reckon I'd probably nearly spend an hour, probably strain my shoulder, go through a few cutting discs. They're just really hard to get to. There's a big shaft here that's attached to the wheel that doesn't come off. They've got to come out of little brackets on each side where they're geared, so I've got to take all the brackets off or cut the main frame. So, you know, you pick your battles. I'm not picking this one. They can go for scrap. I'm going to grab a few other bits and pieces, but unfortunately, I think these, look, I don't have time. I've got a guy coming at 10 to pick up furniture, guy coming at 11 to pick the caravan up, got to go by about lunchtime. So that's it. Say goodbye to the wheel. It'll be probably melted down. There's only 3 of them, so yeah, look, I'm going to leave them here. There's a couple of wheels I can get. This one's on the end of the platform. It's quite seized on, but I think if I bring a hammer and cold chisel back, I should be able to split that collar off there, and hopefully we can get that one off, because I'll get probably $60, $70 for that wheel. And there's another steel wheel here that's just had a tyre sleeve put over it, so it's just been twitched on with wire. So I'll take that back to the shed, should be able to get that out easily. So I'll just take the easy pickings, these chains. And we'll at least get some value for our time. And before we go, a couple of things that will be more important later on in this video. This is a diamond harrow, trailing harrows or covering harrows. It's I used to sell them when they're complete. I'd get about $50 or $60 for them, but that one's a bit just broken. But now you know what that is. And this piece is a bit interesting. Well, it has a history, not such a good history. This bracket was in one of the sheds. It's got a movable bracket, and this part my hand on was fixed, and that lever moved, and there's a little swing over pawl there that comes along and locks in, and there's a big spring on it. This mechanism was responsible for my father losing his leg. Yep, about 18 years ago, he had an accident on the binder and it took off, and there's a whole video on it. I'll link the video underneath, but this thing is the little part that let go unexpectedly, and Dad ended up inside, pretty much inside the machine. So there you go. A cursed bit of metal will be eventually melted down. All right, trailer's empty. I better go and pick up those wheels. I'll come back and get the other one a bit later. Need to have some breakfast, and we have some people turning up soon. And there she goes. There goes the caravan on its long, probably about a 4.5 hour journey. And it should make it okay. They've given it a good check over. Very nice people. They're going to fully restore it. They actually have another one, a longer one. So they've got his and hers caravans. So I hope we get some photos back. I'll show you when it's fully restored. Now we're just winding up. The van's pretty well packed. We've finished everything we're going to do this week. Got most things ticked off. I've put the ute away there, and I'll be back probably in about a month just on my own, just to do some tidying up. Probably do 2 more trips before we finish up. How did you go with these from the last video? Pretty obscure stuff, I know. This one is, well, it was made from some trailing harrows, like I showed you before. This is probably an older set though, because it's a bit thinner, but they've used the steel from the trailing harrows, and they've made, I'll prop it up here so we can see it better. They've made a yoke for cattle, or probably a calf, to clamp around its neck to stop it pushing through fences, reaching for the grass that's always greener on the other side of the fence. Pretty barbaric, really. I would imagine that it would rub and be quite uncomfortable, but that's what they did back then. It's probably quite an old piece, but it's, yep, it's a yoke to stop cows pushing through fences. So there you go. It's probably only going to be scrap metal, but interesting. The other ones, well, this one, it's either International or Massey Ferguson. I think it's International. It's off an old harvester, and the crank type assembly turns rotary motion from a V-belt into reciprocating motion, and it shakes the riddles. And did I show you a riddle before? I'm not sure I did. But basically the riddles separate the chaff from the grain in a harvester, in simple terms. So that's a part of an old international header. I might try and take that back and sell it. I think we'll get more than scrap. And these things are off binders. These are the actual knotter assembly off a HV Mackay Massey Harris binder, and I have one here to show you complete. Here's the binder. If you remember, we sold this one. And I thought, oh, there's some more chain. I grabbed quite a few lengths of chain from down the yard. I get $10 a length for that. And here's a knotter complete. And it's an ingenious piece of mechanics that the straw gathers up here with the packer arms and, well, oats when they were used originally, and until you get a tight bundle, and then this trips this mechanism, these big arms fling around, it ties a knot, and it ejects the sheaf out onto a carrier. So amazing that they could make a lump of metal tie knots in string. So there you go, it's a binder knotter. So with that out of the way, we've got to say goodbye to the farm again. We're all loaded up, Mum's in the van, give us a wave. Yep, that's about all you're going to get. So it's her last time at the farm, and contrary to what Shane was asking me in the last video, we're not going to do an interview. I'm sorry, Mum won't be on camera for an interview. And there's the back of the van, full again. There's lots of pot plants under the doona, which I put that table in, so there's pot plants galore under there. Lots of garden stuff, lots of shed stuff. There's not much left in the house, so we got a good load again, which is great. And we just had a young bloke here, he bought the gravel sides for the truck, which was great, and he took most of the furniture, the chairs, the old table. There's enough room in here now for me to park the ute. Old cupboards that I thought I might have to burn, he said, oh, they'll be handy in the shed. So he had a good load. He was happy to get it for free. He even took all the old shovels against the workshop there. So that was really good. I'd rather rehome stuff than burn it or cut it up. So not much to go here. Mum's shed's pretty well empty, as you saw. The workshop is also pretty much empty. Not much to go in the feed shed over there. And where the caravan was, we have not much to go in here either. So next trip I'll make really big inroads into getting it all tidied up and finished. I'm expecting to do another trip after that, but who knows, there might only be one trip left. We will also be getting a lot more pot plants and wheelbarrows and things from around the yard. There's another lawnmower up on the veranda there, and I have to get the beds. So yeah, I think it will be 2 more trips. We should still have a pretty big load next time. Plus also, I've got to duck into the museum and give that sign to them. There's also some other Matoa stuff that I'm finding that I will give to the local Matoa museum. So there's probably enough to do 2 trips back, just with things to do and organising and that sort of stuff. It's very windy here today and it's getting quite warm, so we better hit the road. We'll get some lunch on the go. That ends this series. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.